Yep, back again already. I've not even edited the video that you're going to see before this, the Son of Krampus one, but I've woken up this morning. I'm going to have a crack at editing that either later or tomorrow, so hopefully we'll get that up on soon. But I've just started doing something else, so I thought I'll get in early, so I don't get to the stage where I forgot to show you after stuff like I have on the first video. I had a 330mm eucalyptus blank, ideal for pouring. It's just shy of 2 inches deep, so it just screams platter, but no way of moulding it at all. I've looked at various things on YouTube, and people recommended polycarbonate sheets and things like that, which is fine and it's a great idea, except for the fact that I ain't got them, and it's not something you can go out locally to me and buy. And I'm way too impatient to wait for the internet and delivery and stuff like that. So after watching another random video on YouTube, I was out at the weekend and I saw a set of 4 cheap and cheerful cutting boards, flexible ones, in pound stretcher, although other brands of cheap and cheerful cutting boards are available, I'm sure. 4 of these in different colours for cutting different things on, but that doesn't really matter to me. I've just butchered one up this morning, and excuse the shaky camera as always, I have formed a very rudimentary mould with it for that blank, which I tried sticking with C8 and it just wasn't having a bar of it. So at the minute it's held together with packing tape, and then my fat roller packing tape ran out, so the last seam is held together with blue tape, but that ain't going to hold. I will come back next time I film. I'm going to hit that with a shed load of hot glue. Hopefully that will hold and seal it, etc. I'll find something to put underneath it as a base. I think out in my woodshed I've got a piece of MFC, melamine, whatever, that will be big enough. And then absolutely leather that seam with hot glue, pray it doesn't leak, and then we'll start thinking about throwing some resin on it, getting it set, demolded, and having a go at turning a platter. So watch this space. So just carrying on from the last video, later that day, it was actually a couple of days ago I filmed that, I went out and bought some tape designed for sealing polythene tunnels, greenhouse type things, much thicker than normal packing tape and supposed to be waterproof and weatherproof and all that nonsense. So I wrapped the mould in that inside and out, and then I absolutely hammered it with a layer of silicone around the outside here. Now I don't know if that's going to work, or it's going to hold, or it's going to leak, or whatever. I'm winging this like I do most things. I've also discovered I've got a little bit of a shallow pour part B left. I've just ordered some more resin. So what I think I'm going to do is mix up that little bit of resin, put a tint in it, and I'm thinking a red, potentially, and pour it and see how it goes. I don't think there'll be enough, but I'll let it cure, and assuming it doesn't leak, then when the rest of the resin comes, I'll mix up enough to finish it and pour it with green. And because of the nature of the cracks and the inclusions and things in this eucalyptus blank, I'm hoping that when you turn it down, then you get a mix of red and green in sort of Christmassy colours, and it winds up being a bit of a Christmas platter. But we'll see what happens, and I'll come back when I've mixed some resin up. Right then, so that's the resin mixed here. Cheers. I literally, by the skin of my teeth, had enough part A to go with that tiny bit of part B I had left. I've used a strawberry red, that's not going to focus, but it's a strawberry red mica powder by Arteza. I was lucky enough that my wife a few weeks ago bought me this box with 35 different mica powders in. I had some others before that, which were pretty good, but I'm finding them better, to be honest with you, so I can recommend them. I'm going to pour this now, and I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know if we're going to have a leak, so just keep your fingers crossed for me, because I think I'm going to need it. So back again a few days later. This is actually turned into a little bit more of a pour than I thought it would be. I did say before I wasn't sure if it would be enough and I might come back and re-pour it. The mould, as I'll show you in a second, held up fairly well. I got 2 tiny leaks which I managed to seal before it turned into anything drastic, and aside from that, they'll hold up. The only downside was we got quite a few surface air bubbles, but I'm not too concerned about them because we'll turn them away when we true the face up anyway, so it shouldn't be too big a deal. So as I said the other day, I have literally just mixed an amount of green to pour over it. I actually used emerald green by Technaroos, which was the first set of micas I ever picked up, despite me declaring my love for the Artesian micas the other day. I wasn't overwhelmed with the greens in the set for what I'm going for on this. Excuse me, but my throat's drying up and I can't be bothered to do more than one take on this, because, as I mentioned in my previous video, inherently lazy. So I'm going to give this a pour. You'll get a look at the mould and how that held up, and then we'll set it aside for another couple of days, and hopefully then when I come back we might actually get to turn this. So excuse all the wood on the bench. This is for another project I've been ordered. If you check out my Facebook, I make a kitchen helper safety step stool type affair for children, and I've been commissioned to make one of those, so I've just done all the parts cut to size to do that, hence the fact it is everywhere. And now I've got about 1,000 pocket holes to drill and hours of sanding on that. But if you want to check that out, then that's on my Facebook page, and obviously, like last time, I will link all that sort of stuff in the description. And the other thing I'll try and do is link some of the products I use, like I promised to last time and then didn't actually do. So what I'm going to do now, we've got that poured, spread it out, try and hit those gaps at the side so that I get the rundown on it. I did find the other day after I'd switched the camera off that tilting it was doing good, and I'm going to hit it with a blowtorch, set it aside for a couple of days, and I'll see you when we come back. So while we've been gone, I demolded this last night, which turned into be much more of a game than I thought it would be, to be honest. I didn't use any mould release, schoolboy error. Struggled a bit getting it unmoulded. I'd actually started it quite late at night and thought I'd just demould that before I go bed, and then it wound up being a very late night. I'm really starting to think this might be my first fail. Some of the inclusions haven't filled like I'd like them to. Some of the cracks on the bottom haven't filled like I'd like them to, although you can see resin inside them, so as you turn it away I might deal with that. This here is where the resin actually stuck to the MFC, so obviously when I true the bottom up, I'll take that off anyway. So right now I'm going to turn it round at about 650 revs. I think it's about as good as I can get before we start getting masses of vibrations. Once it's round, I'll true the bottom up. I think I'm going to put a foot on the bottom instead of a recess, because it's that shallow. I'd get really paranoid about going through the bottom of it, and I think obviously with a foot on the bottom and mortise on the bottom, it's a lot tenon on the bottom, there's a lot less chance of that. So we'll do all that, we'll shape the bottom, we'll probably put a foot on it, and then we'll flip it around and see where we go from there. So let's do it. Oh, and I did anti-fog my visor as well, so hopefully we won't have the problems I had with that last time and all. Let's see what happens. First thing I'm doing is putting the famous Michael Jackson, but not for the wrong reasons, but Michael Jackson left glove on, because as the resin splinters off that, it is like getting hit by glass. Yeah, a lot of the voids haven't filled how I'd have liked, which is really quite concerning at the moment. I guess we're just going to have to see what happens. I think a little move around, work on the bottom, missing a knob on this, which is annoying, but we live. I'm not happy with this edge on my bowl gouge. I might just pause you lot and have another little run at that, because it's not picking up like it should. The finish on it's pretty, well, I mean, it's bloody awful if we're honest, and it's just not going right. Did say this could be a fail. You could be the first ones to see it. How's that for a coup? Back in a bit. However, the difference a quick trip to the stone can make is absolutely flipping ridiculous. Immediately, immeasurably better. I knew I'd screwed that grind up slightly. It's not happy, is it? Even that's not happy. Oh, no, I'm not going to sort that out. I really can't. I think what we need to do is find a way of pouring over these cracks, you know. Which is an interesting concept. That doesn't fill me full of hope, but at the moment, I don't know how much option I've got. Get back in there. I might have to get a gel free card if I have. So, what to do with the problem right at the bottom? pause the camera and have a think on it. Okay, so here's what I've done. I've made a crap pizza. I mixed up a little bit of the red resin. I've poured that all over all the cracks after taping it off. Alright, so we're back. It's a few days later. Obviously you saw me do the pour, or the second pour. Did all right on the cracks. There was still some left, so I actually a couple of days ago now mixed up some 5-minute epoxy and mixed that with the pigment. There we go. Just because of the thickness of it. I found with the other epoxy, even though it's fairly viscous, it was as you can see here, it was just running down because of the slope I'd already put on the sides. So I filled the bulk of the cracks now with a combination of the cast epoxy and the 5-minute epoxy. I can re-clean that back up. I'm probably still going to be left with a couple, but as long as there's a level of the red in them, I should be able to top them off with some CA and refinish that. So let's get this turning, get it cleaned up, flip round and have a go at the other side and see what happens. It's actually much better. Let's see what we can do with the finish. It should sound alright. There are going to be a couple of little tiny fills to make, but actually not as bad as I initially thought, so we'll carry on. Better. Alright. I'm just going to pause you a minute. I realised I meant to touch my skewer up and I didn't. So I'm going to pause you, I'm going to do that. I'm just going to hit these last few holes with some CA. Give it a one last pass. And then we'll sand it. We'll see where we are. So I'll be back in a minute. And yeah, that pretty much answers my question in terms of yes, it's going to be a go back and refinish. As you can see, where the holes have reappeared, they're filled with the Yorkshire grit. So that pretty much sums that up. In fact, I'm not even going to put the gloss finish on the bottom because I know now that I'm definitely going back. So I'll just pause this, get it flipped round, get the faceplate ring taken off, blow my nose with this bit of tissue so I stop sniffling, allergies, and we'll get to hollowing. Right, so ignore everything I just said, what, 15 seconds ago in terms of this video. I took a 10-minute drink break before I turned it around and did what I said I was going to do, and thought about what a pain it would be to come back and refinish this bottom once there's no faceplate on the other side, etc. And it dawned on me that I was being even more stupid than normal, thinking that was a good idea. So I went back, I refilled all the inclusions, I resanded the bottom, and I've refinished it, including the polish. So now it's ready to turn around. It's going to be difficult enough getting rid of that foot with it being too big to swing over my lathe bed anyway. So I'll get this flip round and we'll get to hollowing. Right, so that's good to go. We'll have a go at hollowing it. I should point out, I'm still relatively convinced this is going to be a fail at this point. I've never done a platter before. There's not a lot of meat there for me to get it wrong. And without being pessimistic, I don't know, just got a bad feeling. Turning at about 1,000, and I switched to goggles because it's so warm today. The face shield, anti-fogged or not, is just steaming up and it's a nightmare. So that's the only reason I switched to goggles. And I've got my MJ glove. That'll get beeped out. Remember when I said I was a bit unsure about that mortise? Yeah, it's right on the limit. Hence that happening. Then gives you a lovely catch to deal with. There you go. We plod on. So, previously on Stu's an Idiot, I didn't press record. I've just discovered. So, to bring you up to speed, hollowing was a real pain in the backside. I don't know if you can see that the plate's spinning quicker than the chuck. And this is what I mean by a complete backside. Remember at the start of the video where I said I was concerned that I'd made the mortise a little bit too small? Yeah, that's where we are. So had a real game getting it platter shaped. It's a bit hard to tell from here, but we've got pretty much where we need to be. But hopefully you can tell the resin hasn't penetrated within the eucalyptus as well like I expected it to. So what I'm going to have to do now is fill those cracks, go back, refinish this face before I sand it and finish it. And I think I'm going to use the green because there is red there, and I think that way you'll get the mix. But I'm going to go straight for the 5-minute epoxy and hope it works. It might not. We'll see what happens, and I'll come back when we've got a bit further. So I've said all along it might be a fail. For now, I think it is a combination of things. I've actually filled the inclusions and holes a couple of times now, started to sand, and the fill's just blown straight out in a few places. You can see, if I hold it to the light, you can see how bad the finish was anyway with the tool marks and things like that. It just wasn't playing ball. I was getting a fair bit of vibration from it. I think, as I'd said, my fear about making that tenon a little bit small have come back and bit me on the backside. But I said I'd share my fails. Here's the first one, second video. So I'm 1 for 2 at the moment. It's good average. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 customer jobs sat on the bench that I've been putting off to try and get this finished, get this video out for tomorrow night. And I am going to get this video out for tomorrow night, and it's going to be a fail video. This is going to go on the failure pile. I will come back to it at some point. When I don't know, when I do, I'll make an update video on it. I've got a bit of resin on my beard there. That looks fantastic, doesn't it? So yeah, fail video. It'll be out tomorrow, and in 2 weeks' time, hopefully we have something a bit more successful and very, very different to the bowls and things like that. So watch this space. In the meantime, if you like seeing me cut things up, then subscribe, like, share, hit the bell so you can be notified next time I fail. Yeah. Like I said before, you might as well, because what else have you got to do right now at this moment? So have it. I'll see you soon.